Hi, welcome to Your Health Matters. I'm Scott Kern. Have you ever thought about volunteering here at Kingman Regional Medical Center? If so, I think today's going to be a great show for you because we have Leana Asplin, our Director of Volunteer Services, and she's going to tell us all about the volunteer program and how you can get involved. It's a great show. Stick around. We'll be right back. Hi, welcome back to Your Health Matters. I'm Scott Kern. Today our guest is Leana Asplin, our Manager of Volunteer Services. How are you, Leana?
Good, thanks.
Thanks for being on the show today. So you have a lot of information about the volunteer program here at Kingman Regional Medical Center, but before we start talking about that, let's talk about the history of the program. How long has it been in place here at the hospital?
Our volunteer program actually was started in 1962 by a group of ladies here in the community. They were a not-for-profit 501c3 exclusive of the hospital that provided customer service at the front desk, the main entrance of the hospital. So they've been around a long time. There were 17 ladies that started the program back in the day. And we've grown a little bit since that time, up to about 300, just shy of 300 volunteers today.
So you have 300 volunteers. That's,
yes.
that's a whole lot of growth since 1962 for what you guys do now. Here at the hospital, you can see volunteers everywhere because we've got a great group of volunteers.
We do.
Do they work in every department? Or
just about. Actually, about 25 departments here in the hospital do utilize volunteer services, including all of our information desks and some of those clerical areas within the hospital. They do work in the healthcare areas. We've got volunteers in the cancer center, the emergency room. We've got them in outpatient surgery. So they're just about everywhere from the cafeteria to
all the way through.
All the way through.
Wow. So let's backtrack for a second. How did you get started with the volunteer program and with the hospital? Or I guess let's talk about your history first. So tell me about you.
Tell you about me. Okay, first of all, my background's actually accounting. My degree's in accounting. However, I found out early on in my career that I prefer people over numbers.
Most people do.
So I got into people management and dealing with people. And when I was hired in 1995 here at KRMC, I was actually hired as the patient advocate and spent several years visiting with patients upon admission and helping with legal documents, things like that. When Medicare came through and decided that volunteers needed to be a department of the hospital, I was asked to lead the volunteer program at that time. That was in 1999. And at that time, there was about 40 volunteers. And so we started developing services, talking with department managers, and getting volunteers more actively involved in our hospital setting.
So what are some of the things that the volunteers can do in different departments? You said we go everywhere from the help desks to the cafeteria to just other departments that just need help.
Right,
absolutely. What are some of the...
Well, and let's start with the cafeteria. Our volunteers they provide coffee, tea, hot cocoa to patients working with our nutrition services department, putting together a cart. They go up and visit with the patients between meals to provide those kind of services. Our information desks are exactly that, lots of information. They also transport patients via wheelchair on admission and discharge. They deliver flowers and mail to the patients as requested. Lots of extra duties there, just some extra hands-on. Those work in teams, typically teams of 5 to 6 volunteers at any given time at those information desks. Busy jobs.
So when you see them at the information desk, we'll use the front desk of the hospital as an example. They're answering the phones, they're directing patients. They're also helping with the discharges and admits too, or just discharges?
Yes, admits as well.
Okay,
yeah,
so
they'll transport patients via wheelchair on admit.
Oh, that's a lot of fun. So you always see volunteers out helping the regular staff then too.
Absolutely. We have volunteers that are in up on the 3rd floor in our med surg unit. The extra hands, just helping out, helping pass water, coffee between meals, maybe helping the staff stock rooms, just those extra hands. Sometimes if a nurse is passing pain meds and she needs to stay on task, this gives them the extra hands and extra help so that they don't have to stop that process. They answer call lights, take care of the the small necessities. Sometimes they're just there to visit with the patient so that the patient's not bored. Sometimes after long visits or long stays, the patients get a little bored, so it gives them somebody to talk to.
So what are the ages? Like, it's not just senior citizens or retirees. There's
Absolutely
people in their 20s and their 30s. There's teenagers that do this too, correct?
There is. We have several programs. Our youth volunteer program that we call our Volunteens is ages 14 to 19. Adult volunteer program starts at age 20. I tell everybody 20 to 200.
Wow.
I have volunteers in their 90s still working the information desks and giving from their hearts to help out here at the hospital.
So you said you have volunteers in their 90s. What's your longest tenured volunteer?
I have one volunteer that is, I believe this is her 32nd year as a volunteer at Kingman Regional. I'm hearing rumbling that she may finally retire this year.
Oh, well.
That's going to be a tough day for all of us.
I'm sure it will be,
Yes.
but as long as there's cake to help us celebrate and grieve, we'll be okay. I'll be okay at that point.
I'm
Everyone
sure.
else will have to
We'll
cope.
share, Scott, I
There,
promise.
I appreciate that. I
Good.
appreciate that. Let's talk about the Volunteen program real quick.
Okay.
The Volunteen program, it's a great program because a lot of our high schools here in town require community service time, correct?
They do. Kingman Academy requires a minimum of 80 hours of volunteer time or community service time before they can graduate. However, I do have a great program also with Kingman High School and Lee Williams High School. A lot of their students who are looking for healthcare careers. But we also let them know that we're a city in itself here at the
That's true.
hospital, that it's not just healthcare that we provide, from maintenance to accounting to housekeeping to anything that they
Catering,
might
yeah.
be. Catering, we have volunteers that have worked with our baker if they're interested in becoming a baker, those kind of things. So there's a little bit of everything. We're really a city.
So how does someone get involved? Since 14 to 19 is the volunteer program, then 20 to 200 is the regular volunteer program. Is the registration or the sign up the same, the application the same? Let's talk about that process.
Well, the Volunteen program, which we're gearing up for our summer program right now, applications are actually due by this Friday. It is an application process. The kids apply, I review their applications, then I send them an invitation to the orientation class, which is going to be June 4th this year.
Okay.
They sit through a 4-hour orientation class, and during that time, they're getting all the hospital required information, but we also talk about assignments, what departments are requesting support from our teens, and then they're given their uniforms and their schedules and everything right there at that 4-hour class.
So is that part of the hospital orientation, or is that like a personalized, I don't want to say personalized, but a group personalized?
It is, it's a separate orientation that's more geared towards the teens.
Okay.
Because we do have to follow youth labor laws, so we have to talk a lot about that, how many hours they're able to perform, those kind of things. So it is, it's individualized for the youth.
So how many times a year do you do this volunteer orientation program? Just during the summer, or is there a fall, spring,
There
summer?
is a fall. I do it twice a year. We do a summer program, and I always try to get their orientation done in late May, early June. And they can kick out quite a lot of hours during the summer. And then I do a fall program, typically late October, early November. We'll have a second orientation that allows them to get plenty of hours over the holidays.
Oh, that's really nice. So how do the teens volunteer or sign up for this?
They can pick up an application either in the gift shop of the hospital, but all the guidance counselors at the high schools also have the applications. I work very closely with the guidance counselors, the allied health instructors at the schools. I work with them, and so they can always pick up those applications there as well.
What's cool with the volunteers is you treat this like a job application, like an actual job.
Absolutely.
Interview process. So they have to go through an interview. They have to go through the whole process of bringing you the application, sitting down with the interview.
Right.
Is there a peer interview process with that too, or?
No, it's just often it's just excuse me, it's just a short one-on-one. Just to make sure the kids are on the right page. I want to make sure that it's not just mom wants them to come spend the summer with
So you
them.
want to make sure that they actually want to be here.
That they
want
want to
to be
be
part of this team.
here and that they are committed to the program.
So that's really cool, and it's a great experience for a lot of kids.
It's their first job.
This is their first job, absolutely. So it's a great experience for them to get the interview experience, because that's a very hard experience to get. And once you get a couple under your belt, it gets easier. But it's a good challenge for them.
It is.
So that's a really
It
cool
is.
program for them. And they get treated just like regular volunteers. They can work in all the different areas as long as they meet all the requirements.
Exactly.
Okay. And then, that's a lot of good information. We have a lot more to talk about with the regular volunteer program too, because we're just skimming the surface on that. We haven't even
just
barely touched that.
You're right.
Because they operate the gift shop, which is also, we've had Mimi and Judy on here on the show before, and they did a great job talking about your gift shop. And the gift shop is a huge part of the volunteer program.
It is, yes.
Can you touch on that a little bit and tell us?
Sure. Our gift shop is fully volunteer run. From the buyers to the cashiers to the ladies that set up and clean up the shelves, all fully volunteer run. We are a not-for-profit department of the hospital, although our gift shop's very profiting. So all the money that is made, the profits that we make in the gift shop, are then reinvested back into the hospital.
So that helps buy equipment, so we can use that for scholarships, different equipment that the hospital needs to purchase. So
right, right. We do scholarships twice a year. College students can apply for the scholarship both semesters, twice a year. The scholarships are for those that are pursuing careers in healthcare, any area of healthcare, and they have to have a 3.0 grade point average. And our hope is that they'll be giving back to our hospital after graduation. We're also looking at some of those applications for students that have either been a volunteer, a volunteen, possibly an employee of the hospital, that it's important that they've already got a commitment to our facility as well.
That makes a lot of sense too.
Although it's not an absolute, but it is nice when they've given to the hospital.
Okay. Yeah. Well, let's take a short break, and then we'll come back and we'll talk about the volunteer program. We'll talk some more about the gift shop. I know there's a lot more questions I have, and it's becoming a big part of KRMC and the community. So we're going to talk more about that. So we're going to stick around. We'll be right back after these messages. We have those dates out there so people know to get your scholarships in, and it's for anyone that's going toward a medical,
any kind of healthcare
career. Welcome back to Your Health Matters. I'm Scott Kern. Today my guest is Leana Asplin, our manager of our volunteer services. Leana, thanks for being on the show today.
Thank you for having me.
So the first part of the show, we talked about the volunteer program and part of the gift shop and just some history on the volunteer program. Before we actually start talking about the volunteers themselves, I want to touch back on the gift shop a little bit. A lot of people don't know all the stuff that you have in there. It's really a cool little boutique that you sell all sorts of cards for birthdays, babies being born, sympathy. For all occasions, you sell different types of clothes and just knickknacks, right?
Yeah.
So we don't have a little store like that in town anymore. So
no, unfortunately, with the closing of our Hallmark store, we've lost quite a nice place to shop. So we're encouraging people to check us out because we have an awful lot of those same types of things. Some beautiful gift items, upscaled gift items, as well as typically always have nice fresh flowers, cards and balloons. But we've got a great baby section. We have a men's section. We have always having fun plush stuffed animals and things, but definitely a wonderful place to check out.
Okay, so that's right there in the main lobby of the hospital.
It is.
So it's gonna be right there next to our coffee shop, right across the information desk. So come check it out. It's got a lot of great things in there. I shop for my mom in there all the time. So
your mother spends a lot of money in there.
My mom spends a lot of money on her own.
We like your mom.
There goes my retirement. So that's half the fun.
Darn, yes.
So let's go to the volunteers now.
Right.
The 20 to 200 age range, as you put it. What's the process of becoming a volunteer?
Well, again, it is an application process. They can stop by the gift shop and pick up an application. There's also an application available on the hospital website.
And that's www.azkrmc.com.
That's the one.
Perfect.
That's the one. Pick up that application. There is a process to go through. We do a criminal background check on everyone that wants to be badged and become a volunteer. We also do TB skin testing and drug screening before they can start their volunteer services. It's important that we know that our patients are safe.
Absolutely.
So that's always a priority. Then, of course, the interview process. And during that interview process, we do talk an awful lot about where we place volunteers, where they have opportunities to work and provide their services. Part of that process too is matching them if they're looking for healthcare careers. Where is it that would best match their interests, as well as where our needs are?
Well, that's a good point.
We also, I create service descriptions, so that's similar to in the job world, we have a job description. In the volunteer world, they have a service description, so it gives them some guidelines of the duties that they'll be asked to perform. So we try to keep it very structured.
Mm-hmm.
But we've had a lot of great success stories through our program as well, whether it's volunteers going on to provide great medical services to volunteers who have been able to find employment at KRMC through the volunteer program.
Absolutely. So there's been a lot of success stories of people starting off as volunteers and going on to becoming nurses, working in one of our many departments. So we've had a lot of that happen? Or?
We do. We have a young lady that, as a freshman in high school, we saw huge potential in this young lady. As a volunteer, she did the majority of her volunteer hours in ICU and ER, which isn't traditionally where we put a 14-year-old. We want a more mature student, and she showed such great potential right away that we placed her right away in ICU and the emergency room. When she applied for nursing school at U of A, my understanding were there were only 30 openings for the program and 300 applications. And because of her time with KRMC and some of the beautiful letters of recommendation she received from the volunteer department, as well as the director of ICU and the director of the emergency room, she was one of the 30 accepted into the program. And she was then, after she graduated, hired as an ER nurse here at KRMC.
So she did come back? And
she did come back. So one of my favorite success stories. My son's one of those success stories who did his volunteer time up in the pediatric unit. He did 80 hours of service in the pediatric unit, finding out that he did have a love for children. And although he doesn't have any of his own, he went on to pursue a career in healthcare. He is today a chiropractor, and one of the things he loves doing is adjustments on babies and children.
Really?
Yeah.
So he got that start from being a volunteer here at KRMC?
Yeah, I think a lot of that came from his experience here at the hospital.
That's cool.
One of the neat parts of his story is that once he got through all his healthcare prereqs in college, he applied at Parker Chiropractic College in Dallas, Texas. He was a credit shy of getting into the program. Because of his volunteer time, they waived that credit.
Really?
And
so it can help academically in some situations.
You bet.
Hey, it never hurts to ask. If you have the background, it's worth checking into.
It was worth a try.
Wow. So that's the volunteer program. What about actual volunteers? We've had plenty of people come through the line of volunteers to go on to, some have gone to nursing school, some have gone on to work in our business office, and they're still here today. So it's a fantastic program. It's a great way to give back to the hospital and the community. Because you guys are at all of our health fairs. You guys are always doing new things to help out the community and the public. Aside from the gift shop, is there any other way you guys raise funds to operate? Or?
We do. I sponsor 6 vendor shows a year. We have a luxury linen show. We allow these licensed vendors to come into our hospital, set up a little shop for 2 days. We take anywhere from 15 to 20% of the profits from each of those shows. It's kind of the rent for using our space. And again, those medical students can apply for those scholarships twice a year. Also, the departments can apply for equipment once a year. Every year in September, they're allowed to put in their requests for equipment. Capital equipment must be $2,000 or more per piece of equipment. When the volunteers look at these applications, we're looking at things that really benefit the patients. We want what's really going to help them, provide them safety, comfort while they're here. Those are the kind of equipment requests that we're looking at to approve. this past year, we were able, from our volunteer program, to reinvest $51,000 in equipment and
Wow.
scholarships back into Kingman Regional Medical
Well,
Center.
that leads to my next question. How many scholarships on average do you guys give out yearly?
We give out approximately $10,000 per semester. They're $400 scholarships per student. We get so many applications. Actually, this semester we gave out $8,000 in scholarships. Other times it's been between $10,000 and $12,000, depending on how many applicants we have. The $400 doesn't sound like a lot, but
Hey, when you're in college, every little bit helps.
every little bit helps, and the fact that they can reapply every semester, so it's renewable every semester as long as they meet those qualifications.
And these days, that $400 pays for like half a book. I mean,
Barely.
Barely half a book, and that goes a long way in college. So,
Yeah.
how does one also get a scholarship application?
Those are available in the gift shop, and it's a very, very simple application.
Okay. So when do you review them? Obviously, we'll say August for this fall semester. And
They
then-
are actually due April 1st and September 1st. April 1st for the fall semester, September 1st for the spring semester.
Okay. So we have those dates out there so people know to get your scholarships in, and it's for
Right.
anyone that's going toward a medical
Any kind of healthcare
any kind of healthcare career, whether it be phlebotomist, surge tech, nurse, doctor,
Right.
medical coder.
Exactly.
I mean, any walk of life. A lot of people don't realize how vast the medical field is. There's something for everybody if you really look at it. And like you said, the hospital is essentially a small city, and every hospital is like this. We have our own plant ops department, our environmental services, our catering. So, if you want to be involved in any level of the hospital, there's probably something there for you. And this scholarship's a
Absolutely.
great way to get your foot in the door to go to school. So it's a
Right.
great service you guys
Right.
put together.
Right. We have a young lady right now that she was a volunteer, and she is pursuing a career in music therapy,
Really?
which I thought was quite interesting, and the health benefits to music therapy. So she is one of our scholarship recipients.
Oh, that's very cool.
Yeah.
Now, does she practice that music therapy here, or is she going to come back and practice here, hopefully?
We're hoping so. Right now she's in Utah going to school, and we hope to see her back here, possibly doing some music therapy with our patients.
Man, that's really cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
So a lot of avenues, a lot
You-
of things we're not always thinking about.
Yeah, so a lot of people I guess they didn't really know and understand. Even I didn't know and understand all the things that the volunteer program has done and it does do for the community and the hospital. I mean, providing these scholarships is a great opportunity, and helping purchase the equipment for different departments, that makes
Right.
sense. It's,
Right.
there's a lot of costly equipment that we have to renew and we have to repurchase every so often, just
Right.
because of wear and tear. And you guys are on the front line helping us do that, and that's really nice to know that we have programs in place for that. And have they always been like that in place since the program was started back in the '60s, or has it kind of evolved to that? Or?
That was their essential purpose
Uh-huh.
when they first started, was to give back. And whether it was obviously with a small group that they had, and of course we had a very small hospital back in those
That's
days. So the gifts were probably not near as big, but and our hope is that we stay financially sound through our fundraising projects, that we can continue and hopefully grow and give back more each year.
Absolutely. I mean, you guys have. It's been a great program. I know my grandma was a volunteer for 30 years, so
She
I
was.
grew up. For the people watching, I actually grew up in the hospital with my mom being an ER nurse for 35 years, and my grandma being a volunteer for 30 plus years. My brother and I were dropped off and picked up quite a bit in the gift shop and the waiting areas. We spent a lot of time here drinking the hot cocoa and hanging out in the cafeteria till Grandma got done volunteering.
I bet.
But
Your grandmother and my dad hanging out together as volunteers.
that's it. I couldn't even tell you how many renovations ago when that gift shop was at the corner right at the main entrance, which I'm not even sure where that's at now.
Oh, I know. I know.
It's just so much going
It's hard
on
to
with
do.
it. But the volunteer program it's a great opportunity for people. So if they want to come volunteer, they need to come get an application from you, and it's just like getting a job.
It is.
It's just like
It
going
is.
through a background check, getting the testing we have to get done here to work at the hospital. So if you have any information or if you have any questions, how can they get a hold of you?
My number is 928-692-4673. My email address is lasplin@azkrmc.com.
Okay. Well, thank you for that. Leanna, it's been a lot of fun today talking about the volunteer program, and you're welcome back on the show anytime. That's all we have today, guys. We appreciate it, and tune in next time for another episode of Your Health Matters.